I would
Well,
regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly, here we are today. You can't get rid of him.
Right. It's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.
Hello. This is Jets Chaos, and today we are ranking. We are ranking the top 10 safeties, but I cannot do that alone. I can't do it alone. Can I, Harlan? Harlan's here. He's waiting. He wants to know where everyone is. I guess it's a weird time on a Sunday. A lot of people are watching the game, but I see people coming in slowly but surely, and we'll give them a little time to get in before we start. But we're going to rank the top 10 safeties coming out in the 2023 draft. I'm really excited. This is actually a position of need for the Jets and a lot of other teams. So it's not like we could sit there and fiddle faddle if we're going to get one of the top safeties. We're going to find out how many guys are worthy of a top 2 rounds. And then we're going to find out, what do we think the drop off is going to be? Meaning, are we going to go down to the point where if you don't pick one by the second round, you're looking at a 4th, 5th round? All those questions will be answered. We'll have the list of guys. We'll have the expected rounds that they'll be drafted. It's important to understand these things, because when you make a decision to draft a safety, if it's the 2nd round pick and we're deciding to go a different direction, we have to understand the drop off that's going to take place if we don't pick a safety in that spot. Like, what is it going to look like in the 3rd round? Is there going to be anybody left? Or are we going to take a big drop and have to wait to the 4th round? These are things that real GMs have to go through. And even though he doesn't make any money and he's not a GM, even though he should be, we make him for free, figure all this out for us, just so we get the simple pleasure on draft day of knowing what's going on, screaming out names, and being able to anticipate what Joe Douglas or any other team that you're rooting for might do. We have a Miami Dolphin fan here already. You could be a fan of any team for this show, because this is not just about the Jets or the 49ers or any one team. This is for any NFL team. That's specifically, if you're a fan of a team and you know that your team needs a safety, this is the place to be. This is the place to learn. So without further ado, let me introduce the greatest film analyst of college players in the world, Tom C. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Jeremy, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right.
Good, man. What's up, chat? Harlan, Grandizer, Tigo.
Tigo's here, man.
Yeah, man, I missed that intro. You've been cutting it a lot shorter.
I know. I'm afraid that I'm going to scare new people away, because they're going to say, "Who is this clown?" But maybe
you put a new intro and outro, the techno beat music, and now we switched it up. Switch up the intros.
You switch up the intros. You do. I might go back to introducing people the right way, but I wanted to do it first. I guess we'll do it on different occasions.
Yeah. Wednesdays for sure.
Wednesday. It is a Wednesday thing, isn't it?
It's a Wednesday thing for sure, man.
But here we are, Daniel. I don't know if the Dolphins need a safety. Do they? Are they in the? You think they're going to be in the market for a safety?
Oh, I mean, I guess it really depends on who's calling the defense and what they're doing with it. I know that Vic Fangio, like Daniel said, has been mentioned. They're discussing him. I don't know if there's any traction to that or not. I would assume that it's a tantalizing job for someone. But the way their defense, if we're talking Miami, the way their defense is built right now, it's got personnel up and down for a 3-4 guy. So Fangio makes great sense. I mean, he's probably one of the best true 3-4 technicians out there, available in coaching. So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, do you have 10? I assumed you had 10. I said top 10. I didn't even.
Yeah,
ask.
I got 10. I got 10 to talk about.
Do you have any honorable mentions before we start, guys who didn't make the top 10 that you wanted to give a quick mention of?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Great. Anytime you're ready, we'll kick
so
it
I
off.
want to, I want to preface this also that these are my rankings. They're not. So you can open up whatever Google, search, 2023 draft class safeties, and you might see some different names and so on and so forth. But these are the guys, how I like them. It also is obviously subject to change. We're so early in the process. January is very early. Senior Bowl's coming up in next week, and then the combine and the workouts and the pro days and all that stuff. So there's going to be a lot of jockeying up and down the draft order. But for now, these are the guys that I like. I just want to preface that by saying, especially because a couple of these guys that we're going to talk about as honorable mentions, you'll see them very high on boards. They just weren't my cup of tea. My number 13 guy on my list is Rashad Torrance from Florida.
He's a good name.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's got very good instincts, and he plays with anticipation. Like he's smart. Problem I have with him is that he's just not very physical. He's not, he had 87 tackles last year. He misses way too many tackles. He's not going to be a force in the run game very much at all. And I don't know if he's got the chops to really stay at deep center field free safety also. To me, and especially I'm a Florida fan, so I watched him a lot. Like, he was a guy. He was good. It wasn't terrible, but he didn't like he missed that wow factor. Like it seemed like whenever the situation got big, he was not the one to step up and make that big play, so on and so forth. My number 12 guy on my list is Jay Ward. He's a safety out of LSU. He just converted to safety. He was a cornerback. Like think Jason Pinnock. Pinnock. All right. Kind of very similar. I'm not going to say his pro comp would be Pinnock, but very similar, very tall, 6'3", lots of length, was an outside cornerback and just moved and played slot this year, played primarily in the slot, but at the next level, he's kind of gearing away from the cornerback skills and going to move up and play, probably a free safety. Problem with him is just very raw. He has talent outside, he's got talent up the ass and, a very high ceiling, but you don't know when that's going to really develop because he's kind of transitioned into a position that he's never really played before.
Now, is he? So I would imagine this means, based on what you're saying, that he's definitely, if you're looking for a free safety.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to be a free safety, a guy that can hop down and play the slot in nickel or dime situations, cover wide receiver, so on and so forth. That's going to be his strong point. But he just hasn't played the position long enough to really know what you're getting.
And you think he's day 3?
Yeah, he's day 3. I don't see anybody else taking him. I mean, he could test out of this world at the combine or, I believe he's actually playing at the Senior Bowl, so he could, really show up there and move up draft boards. Again, like I said, this is so early in the process that there's going to be a lot of jockeying.
And what day do you fly to the Senior Bowl?
I leave Monday, not this Monday, a week from Monday. I'll be down. My flight is late afternoon. And I land. There's no direct from here in Newark to Mobile, Alabama, so I got to fly to Atlanta, and then change planes and head over to Mobile on a little puddle jumper.
So you're going to deep down Mobile, Alabama.
Can't wait, man. So,
okay,
and everything. It's a real South, and everything tips off 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So I'll be in there, and lots of video recording stuff, pen and paper, my laptop, the whole nine. So I get a good feel of what these guys really are when you get to talk to them and when you get to see them play against high level competition.
But it sounds like these guys is to fill a pipeline. Like when you talk about a guy like Jay Ward, it sounds like a pipeline guy. Obviously one day might develop into a starter, but it doesn't sound like if you're a team that needs a plug and play guy that you can be very confident about.
Correct. Listen, again, and we're speaking about Ward in particular. I think he's got immense upside, but it's just it's a pure wild card because you don't know what it's going to be. Remember Pinnock, transferred and converted to safety in the middle of the year, his rookie year, and everyone said, "Hey, he probably could be something. He probably could be something good, but you just never knew." Right? That's exactly kind of what I get the same feels about Jay Ward. And my highest honorable mention who just missed the list, Jamie Robinson from Florida State.
Oh, okay.
It's another very popular name in and around people who talk about the safeties. And he's like I said, he's a big hitter. He's very, very good against the run. He's a strong safety only, which is fine. Excuse me, but he's 5'9". Okay, so his size is going to limit him. They have him marked at 200 pounds. They always jack those numbers up. So my guess is he probably closer to about 185 ish. He's going to need to put on some muscle. And he played a lot. He played a lot in the box for Florida State. He also played middle linebacker for them. So that's the mentality he has. He just lacks the deep ball range. He lacks the ball skills, and his size, I think, is going to hurt him overall. He's versatile in that sense. Like he can do a lot of things, but I just, I really, really wanted to like him and his film a lot more than I did. And to me, I just saw somebody who was very, very good in the college game and probably not going to transfer over very well into the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know from our perspective, we could actually use help in both safety positions, but I'm thinking LaMarcus Joyner is the bigger need because there's a chance that we're not going to want to eat Whitehead's $3 million cap hit of dead money, and we might. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of 50 now. I didn't think we cut Whitehead or release him, but now I'm starting to think they might.
I don't know, man. It's still so early. It's still so hard to tell. We talk about all this stuff, and that's why you have to take all these mocks that happen now, even the ones that we do, with a very big grain of salt. Because how long were we Jet fans in hundreds of mocks? How long were we dead set on taking Trey McBride in the second round? Free agency came. We signed a couple tight ends. And no one even talked about Trey McBride anymore, So that stuff could happen here as well. Like we could just use free agency to fill our free safety spot or so on and so forth. There's a good possibility of that.
Right.
So
right.
Take it with a grain of salt. But as of now, here in January, as constituted, I would say, I would guess that we're going to have Whitehead back. He knows the scheme. He struggled at times, but he was serviceable. I just don't think that we have the luxury to just get rid of guys who are serviceable. At some point, you're going to have to put guys on the field, right? I just don't think that we're going to have the money and the flexibility cap wise this year to just cut these guys, eat the dead cap, and just fire out replacements. But if you told me you were dead set on we need 2 starting safeties, I wouldn't I wouldn't begrudge you. I wouldn't argue it. I just don't think that that's probably the avenue that we go. We might not even draft a safety, truth be told. That again, I think that they're very high on Tony Adams, and the limited snaps that he saw on defense, I was very, very pleased with what I saw. I think he could be a player. Do I think he's going to be all pro level? No, not yet. But there's something in him that they like enough that, they were willing to let loose Jason Pinnock for him, for his roster spot. So
Mhm.
He's going to be in the rotation, my guess, or at least be given an opportunity to get it, unless you bring in a big time free safety through free agency, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think free safety is probably the bigger need of the two. And more so, somebody who's a little bit flexible. Like, I don't see the Jets, honing in on just a pure like Jordan Whitehead type in the box safety. That just doesn't make sense because Whitehead can't. You can be as versatile. Whitehead, you can say Whitehead's versatile and he plays down there sometimes back in center field, but he doesn't do it very well.
Right. Right.
So I would
Yeah,
say the compliment to him would be if you're drafting, the compliment to Whitehead would be of paramount importance.
Right. I just feel, I don't know, because at this late in his career, I don't know if this is possible. I don't know how coachable he is. I feel like he could be a lot better. You can disagree with me. I mean, let me know. But my sense is he could be a lot better if he focused a little less on the size of the hit and a little bit more on wrapping the player and not missing the tackle.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a common theme, though. And again, I'm not justifying, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you say. And some of these prospects that we're going to talk about in my top 10, they struggle from the same thing. It's nice to come across and you see the ball carrier and you start salivating. I'm going to lay a hit on this guy, and you go to put a shoulder down, and he moves or he spins or he's a little bit stronger than you think, and he bounces off of it and runs for 40. I think the Cincinnati game was the big when Jordan, I think that was Jordan Whitehead, or maybe that was the Marcus Joyner on that touchdown pass to Tyler Boyd, where he came and tried to lay a big hit out there, and Tyler Boyd just kept running, So I agree. I agree with you, man. Like, I would love to, there's something very satisfying about a guy who really knows how to fundamentally tackle, wrap and tackle, and drive through the ball carrier. And that's missing, man. That's missing. But we're in the big, those wrap and those pure, solid tackles don't make it on ESPN. They don't make it on Instagram or so on and so forth. The big hits when you lay these guys out, they do. What I mean?
Yep. I mean, I there's like, if I could undo 5 or 6 of his tackles where he missed and he didn't, wrap the guy up. If I could just undo 6 of them.
Yeah.
I don't think if 6 of them never happened, he would have wrapped the guys up and just did a fundamental tackle. I don't think I would be sitting here thinking that we could possibly draft 2 safeties or possibly consider releasing him. I would be thinking, okay, he's going to go into the second year of his contract. I wouldn't have any of this negativity, but it really stood out on like 6 plays throughout the season, doing the watch parties with Green Bean and having to talk about every play. It was like, it was really about 5 or 6 times where we were like really frustrated. We were outwardly saying, this is not okay. You can't have a player doing this. And it feels coachable to me.
Yeah. I think safety as a whole, even if you just say Whitehead's on the team in 2023, right? It doesn't mean that it's going to be a position that we just have to neglect, because you got to remember, Whitehead's really only here for 1 more year. His contract is over in 2023, as is Ashton Davis, who's our 4th safety, who really only played, I think, maybe 10 to 20 defensive reps all year. One of them being real important. He had that game sealing pick in Cleveland.
I remember that.
Yeah. But he didn't play much defense at all. He's kind of transitioned into a core special team.
Yeah. Let me eBoogie, we're gonna go over the top 10. We haven't even hit the top 10 yet. So just so you know, we're gonna go over 10 safety prospects. Some of them will be free safety, some of them will be strong safety, some of them will be possibly a hybrid.
Yeah.
Guys that Dom could see going both ways. Which we know JD likes. So if there are hybrid type guys, that JD is definitely going to be considering them. Because he seems to like that in all positions, guys that you could be flexible with. And and what GM wouldn't, right? What GM wouldn't prefer a guy that can play multiple positions?
Absolutely.
It works. But we know that JD values that, right? Based on past draft picks and past free agent signings. We know he values guys who are more flexible, and you could do a little bit more than just one position.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I said,
thanks for the super chat, by the way, eBoogie. We appreciate it.
As we go through eBoogie, I will kind of give you my 2 cents on who I think is going to, where they fit. So we'll talk about some of the guys who are, free safety only, strong safety only, like Jeremy said, some of the hybrid guys, so on and so forth. So we'll get into all that.
Yeah. And some people like Tony Adams, so we could talk about that later too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I said, I think Tony Adams has the making of a really good player. I think he does.
The question is, do you trust that he's ready this year? Like, can we go in confident next season and say Tony Adams is going to be our free safety?
I'll say this, right now, am I willing to make that statement? Probably not. I think it'd be kind of immature or probably a little premature, not immature, premature to make that judgment based off of 100 plays that he played last year. But like I said, there was no doubt that Jason Pinnock was everyone's free safety pipeline of the future. If not, I mean, how many people fought early in the season to say Pinnock should be starting over Marcus Joyner? You had all those Pinnock truthers.
Yep.
And Pinnock's the guy we cut to keep Tony Adams. So the staff really, really likes him.
Right.
I think he's a good player. I watched him. You watch him in he understands the zone defense that we run first and foremost. Illinois is they're a very, very, they run a very high level defensive scheme. So he was kind of prepared for it, but I really liked what he did against the run. He takes good angles. He's a short tackler. He puts his body out there. He knows how to play. He defends the pass well with the ball in the air. There's just a lot to like out of the kid, but he's a kid, so I think he's earned a roster spot, and at worst he's the third safety on the team. And we either draft or we bring in another guy to start with Whitehead, Right. It could be worse. Could be a lot worse. To put it that way. I think having Tony Adams as a fallback could be a lot worse.
Right. And Tony Adams is the kind of guy that in certain packages, right? We might draft a guy who plays, you might have Whitehead, and you might have Tony Adams come in and cover a slot receiver, or just do, might just come into the game and kind of in a different package, right? Where we play more defensive backs.
Sure. And I agree, Jets fan. He was kind of a better overall tackler than Whitehead, but I think myself and Jeremy probably could have been as well.
Yeah.
So
big problem with the tackling. Big problem.
Yeah, but like I said, like at some point, whether forget about what we do. I shouldn't say it like that, but at some point we're going to have to put a safety on this roster, a young guy. So maybe it's early in the draft this year. Maybe it's one of the higher guys, and that's how we're going to fill that spot. But if not, it's going to be later in the round, because like I said, Jordan Whitehead's a free agent, and who knows if he's going to get signed after 2023, who knows? And Ashton Davis is a free agent. So that would leave us right now with Tony Adams as the only safety on the roster. Now, obviously that's not going to happen. That's not going to be the end result.
We need to start filling the pipeline, though.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about, the scrap heaps that we picked up for, on the practice squad and all that stuff, because I don't know if there's anybody there that's really worth mentioning, that's on our, futures or reserves list. But they're not pipeline guys, they're practice bodies and emergency, probably special teams guys. We don't really have the pipeline guys in route right now. So I assume that's going to be addressed at some point in 2023 or 2024 with Joe Douglas. Okay. And the big elephant in the room is what value does Joe Douglas really put on the safety position as a whole? We saw that, he said that he wanted to make Jamal Adams a Jet for life, but that was kind of, baloney. And then he got like the Godfather deal to get rid of him. He wasn't willing to go over his number last year when Marcus Williams was a free agent, that he was bantered around and he had a number and Joe Douglas wouldn't go over it. Supposedly it was about $10 million. And I think Williams got 15. So he obviously has, his idea of what he wants to pay these guys, and his value on the position just might be less than than others. But considering what we have at cornerback and how solid we are with our top 3, top 4 cornerbacks, I think you can kind of shift some of the focus and maybe some resources that you would spend in or draft capital in cornerbacks. You can kind of place towards the safety position if you wanted to. So that's my opinion.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So, hey, we gave a couple of freebies out that weren't in the top 10. I think we're
Yeah.
up to number 10 now.
Yeah.
Who are we starting with? Who is, and make sure I think everybody really is interested in those 3 options too. Like, not, obviously,
Yeah.
free safety, strong safety, hybrid. Like, those
Sure.
are our 3 categories.
Absolutely. So my number 10 guy is a guy that you don't see too often. He was a really, really good player and probably one of those guys who should have come out last year. But I watched him a lot last year, and then I continued to watch some of his game films this year, and I really liked the guy. His name is Kendrick Duncan Jr. He played for Louisville. 6'3", 220 pounds. He's in the mold of like your old school 1980s safeties. Like picture Ronnie Lott, a receiver coming across the middle and Ronnie Lott and him just laying him out. Like, he's just like a big imposing force like that. And he's a big hitter, kind of like an old school safety. This guy is just a strong safety. He 100% just a strong safety, but he plays with good instincts. He's, does great work around the line. He can diagnose and kind of stop and break on plays, and is a very, very sound tackler. Another thing he's really good at is he's a great blitzer from the safety position. He can come up the middle, he can come around. He's long, and he does a good job. He always gets his hands in the passing lanes if he can't get to the pass rusher. Kind of those pass rush skills that you expect from an edge. He can bring those. But like I said, he just doesn't. He is strictly a box safety. He doesn't have the fluidity. He doesn't have the hit move. That those buttery hips that you need to flip and run. He's pretty slow. He's probably going to test out poorly in the 40-yard dash, if he tests at all, because he missed 8 games last year with a Liz Frank injury, that foot injury that is damning to a lot of players. Now he's a 6th-year senior, so he's an older prospect coming off an injury, with not a lot of straight line speed. My guess is that he's going to be a day 3 pick, probably mid day 3 for a team that really wants some physical presence in the box. He's also a guy who I think can easily transition into a linebacker, one of those hybrid linebackers. Like we did with Hamson, like we did with Sherwood. Like he fits the mold of that perfectly,
Wow.
So that's what I thought was very, very interesting on him. Like I watched him play and I said, this guy's a linebacker. I don't know how much safety he's going to play. He just doesn't have, he doesn't have the movements. He can't hang with a speedy, shiftier guy in the slot. He does fine against the tight ends, but he gets beat down the seams all the time. He's grabby when he's in man coverage. It's not a strong point for him. So he's a guy who is he's like I said, he's a pure hitter. He's a sure tackler. He does well, around the blitz. He's very similar. Like I comped him. My NFL comp for him is Landon Collins from the Giants. Formerly the Giants, then Washington, and now back with the Giants. Same thing, man. Same kind of player. Big hitter. He can settle and satisfy in some zone, but you're not going to ask him to man up on anybody because he's just a little bit too slow. He's a little bit too bigger. But you put another 20 pounds, 15 pounds on him, and you could have yourself a nice little linebacker in the making.
So it's very possible. It wouldn't be shocking if you saw the Jets or San Francisco grab a guy like this and then
anybody
find out that they're being converted into a linebacker.
Exactly. Like I said, that whole Nasruddin Sherwood transformation from strong safety, big hitter to linebacker is exactly what I think the path that Duncan's gonna play. Again, he can satisfy as a safety in the as a box safety, but he's really does most of his damage against the run. So to me, that just smells linebacker, and I think he'd be a very good one at that, which is why he made my list. I just like the way I love that old school physical style. There's something that's satisfying and enticing to me about those kind of prospects.
And you think he gets a year in the oven, like development at least a year?
Yeah. He's listen. He's of all the safety prospects. that I talked about, even the 3 that were honorable mention,
Mhm.
he's probably the least plug and play ready guy, but he can contribute on special teams right off the bat. And
Mhm.
and then you got to decide he's gonna have to go to there's gonna have to be a defensive coordinator and a head coach out there that really like his skill set and say we can put him in this kind of package for him to get up and get on the field early.
Okay.
So
Okay, and
that's
that's
Kendrick Duncan Jr. from Louisville.
Kendrick Duncan Jr. from Louisville, and you think he's 5th round, 6th round pick?
Yeah, I midday 3. He could go in the 4th. He can go in the 5th. Something like that. Listen, he's probably got more talent than late day 3, but coming off of a Liz Frank injury, you just never know. Those things are
Yeah.
funny. Those feet, those foot injuries are just funny. So
Yeah.
Before we get into the next guy, I don't have my TV on down here. So what's the update with the game?
The late I could see there was a 2-minute warning. Dallas had 3 minutes to go, down by a touchdown, and they went 1, 2, 3 and out. Dak Prescott couldn't complete a pass. They punted the ball. San Francisco's got the ball at their own 43. I think they just got a first down. Elijah Mitchell, just ran for a 15-yard gain, 13-yard gain. So now it's first down again. They're at Dallas's 44-yard line.
What's
So
the score, though?
It's 19-12. They're up by a touchdown. They have the ball. There's only 1:53 left, and Dallas has 2 timeouts.
Gotcha. Okay.
So San Francisco they're not sitting on the ball. They're running the ball. And this is pathetic in my mind. Like, I don't know how they did this, but they let Elijah Mitchell run for 13 yards, even though they knew they were going to run, and they're just trying to run out the clock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's embarrassing. But now it's back. They're back on track. They stopped them. It's 2nd and 9, 1:47. I'm sure that they just used they're probably about to use their second timeout. Yep, they used their second timeout. They got 1 timeout left. So now it's just about they're going to need like a miracle. It's going to come down to like they're going to have like a minute left with no timeouts, and they're going to have to go 80 yards for a touchdown.
Huh. I want to see San Francisco win, so I think it's a better game, San Francisco and Philly. So
yeah, it's better for me. I almost did the watch party, but we have this show tonight. But like,
gotcha.
Let's
go on to number 9.
Yeah, let's go on to number 9. Who is the number 9 safety on your list? We'll say goodbye to Kendrick Duncan, but I'll try to remember that name as a guy maybe for the 4th, 5th round.
That's right. Next guy on my list is Sidney Brown from Illinois, another Illinois guy.
Sidney Brown from Illinois.
Yeah, Brown is 6 foot, 205 pounds, super explosive, fast twitch athlete, very, very fast. He's going to test out speed wise and agility wise when they do the cone drills and stuff like that at combine as one of the highest prospects in the draft. He's going to run, very low 4.4s. He is one of the guys. I know Grandizer just put strong safety. He's probably more of a hybrid. He one of the strong points for him is his versatility. He can play in the box. He can play sufficiently deep middle, which I probably think that's his best position in the NFL. He can play on the slot. He can man up, wide receivers and big slots, big tight ends in the slot. He was an outside boundary cornerback his first 2 years in college. So he's made that transition from cornerback to that star backer or that rover position, which in essence is like a overhang safety. It's actually the same position Tony Adams played in college. So very, very versatile, super explosive. He plays attacking. He's very aggressive. Everything's coming downhill. He read and reacts very, very well. The problems with Brown is that he's short. And I'm not talking about height-wise, 6 foot, but he's very, very stocky. He's got short arms, so his length is gonna really hinder him. Like he's, it hurts him in open field tackle situations. Like you watch guys stiff arm him all the time, and he looks like a like that when you were a kid and you had a little brother, or Jeremy, you were the little brother, so maybe your brothers put their hand on their head and held your way, and you kept punching. Yeah. That's exactly what I think of when I watch some of Sidney Brown in open field. So it's something that's he's going to have to deal with. He's very, very. He's just not long. He struggles against big receivers, some of those bigger tight ends, because they just box him out. They box him out. And the one real big knock about Sidney Brown that I didn't like last year, he was flagged for 11 penalties as a safety. That's just way too many. It's
Right,
just,
right.
and some of it, you kind of tip your hat because it's him being aggressive. But some of it, that stuff is just not going to fly in the NFL. Can you imagine him being on a Belichick team and having 2 penalties in one series? He'll never see the field again, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. No,
So
definitely.
interesting fun fact about Sidney Brown is he's got a identical twin brother who's a running back who we'll talk about when we do our running back position.
So he has a
breakdown.
running back, and so he has a brother who made the top 10 in a different position. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Barber brothers.
Yeah. So very.
Yeah.
I like that, the Barber brothers. So like I said, I think Sidney Brown is the athlete that he is. He's going to make his mark in the NFL, but he's one of those pipeline pieces. He could do for a team kind of like what Tony Adams did for us. Even though Tony Adams was undrafted, I definitely think Sidney Brown's going to get drafted. He's going to be, he's a top 150, 160 player. So in that 4th round, some people are going to just not like his height and length. But people are going to then absolutely drool over the athletic specimen, because that's high ceiling stuff. He's going to test out like ridiculous, and he's going to make, he's going to be a special teams ace early on, and he's going to work his way onto the defensive field. I think he's got a really bright future. Really like the player. I really like the player.
And I'm sorry if you didn't say it. What round do you think?
I got him. I think I have him right around 150, 160 overall. So what's that? 4th round, 4th, 5th round?
Yeah.
Right around there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I comped him to Justin Reed in Kansas City. Very, very similar body styles. Very similar play styles. I think that if Sidney Brown can turn into something like Justin Reed, Justin Reed just got paid, right? Just got paid big money. So
if the Jets took this guy, let's say in the 4th round, let's say they grab it, they announce Sidney Brown, would you assume that would, and let's say that Whitehead wasn't released, would you assume that that's we're going to put this guy in the pipeline for a year? He's going to sit behind Whitehead, and when Whitehead's contract is over, this might be our guy.
You know what? I think if you're asking me my opinion, I think his role in the next level is going to be very similar to Tony. If we're talking about Jets, Tony Adams, and oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? Ashton Davis. Excuse me.
Davis,
that kind of guy where they can play up in the box if you ask them to, but they're probably better out, covering in the slot, covering tight ends, free safeties. I think that's going to be his role. Very similar to what Tony Adams does. Like I think that he can have that same kind of path, but he's much more of a better athlete than Tony Adams is. So yeah, listen, I would love to have him on my team. And yes, I think Grandize, you're right. His brother is, his brother is Chase.
Yep.
So,
okay.
So yeah, that's Sidney Brown in a nutshell.
Okay. I love it. So now we're moving on to number 8. Our number 8 ranked safety.
Ronnie Hickman.
I know that name.
Free safety from Ohio State.
Free safety.
This
would be a guy to replace Joyner.
He's a pure free safety. 6'2". Well, I shouldn't say he's a free safety. 6'2", 207 pounds. He's got the ideal height, weight, speed, athleticism that you see in NFL safeties. He's got it all. He's a true junior. He just turned 21. He played he played for Ohio State and saw the field mostly all three of his years. He's got ridiculous, short area quicks. He can backpedal, stop, and get forward real quick. Like I said, he explodes out of his backpedal. He's like a freight train through, the ball carriers after he makes his decision. And of all the safeties that we're going to talk about today, he's by far, take it for what it is, but his numbers were elite against the pass. He led up last year a QBR ranking of 32.9 when targeted. So he's not allowing any passes his way when they're targeting him, when he's in coverage with man or zone coverage. So he is he's legit. He's the real deal. Now the problems with him is I told you he runs like a freight train coming downhill, but too many missed tackles, and he's one of those guys who likes to tend to lower his head, dip his shoulder, and give a big hit instead of wrapping and finishing his tackles, and that we know we have enough of that already. He's probably going to need to fill out his body a little bit more. He's 6'2" is great, and they list him at 207, but I don't think his play weight was 207. He could use a little bit more functional strength, a little bit more muscle mass on his body. And like I said, his as a free safety, great against coverage in man end zone, but his ball skills are not, the best. Although he's sound in man coverage, it never kind of amounted enough. You didn't see a lot of those pass breakups. He had 6 pass breakups last year, 1 interception, I think 3 interceptions in his career. So those ball skills aren't there, and it's usually because he's a little bit hesitant, at times he doesn't really, he doesn't make the decision or jump and get the ball at the highest point. He's looks to break it up, or he does a lot of, and which I think is a good skill. I don't say this negatively. He does a lot of that hand fighting with the balls, just like Sauce Gardner. Receiver gets the ball and he's punching at the hands and he's punching at the ball to try to knock it out, which is effective for him. But if he makes a decision and doesn't hesitate, and goes up, he can get those balls at the high point. We just didn't see that. I didn't see that a lot in his film.
Okay, and where do you think he gets drafted?
I think like I said, I think he's a day 3 guy. I think he's a 4th round guy, a solid 4th round guy.
Right.
He's got, like I said, he's got the closing speed and he's got the range and he's got the coverage skills, to be a starting safety in the league. I don't know right now if he's got the body or the functional strength to do it. He might need a year to kind of get bigger, get stronger, before he comes in and makes a noise. But he's going to be, you're going to hear his name called on Sundays for many, many years. Like, he's a good ball player.
Wow. He's the kind of guy that might not play tons as a rookie. He might play a little.
Yeah.
But not possibly not a plug and play. You got your safety.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's a guy that absolutely could be a starting safety, but he's going to have to, he's going to have to earn it, and he's going to have to get bigger. He's going to have to get stronger. He's going to have to, adjust to the play speed at the NFL, and I've comped him. My NFL comp for him is Marcus Williams of the Baltimore Ravens, the best free safety that was on the board in free agent market last year. Very, very similar skill sets, and even a very, very similar pathway to the NFL. Marcus Williams was great in his first contract, but he didn't start out great. So,
right. So it sounds like we need. It sounds like we need patience. Like, if we were to draft him, don't expect in the 4th round. Don't expect him to come out and be our starter. He might, right? We've
listen. He could. You're absolutely right that he could. But I would probably not. I'd probably say he'd be in the safety rotation, maybe your 3rd safety. That's my guess.
Right. And fans shouldn't freak out and say he's a bust if he's not the starter year 1.
Correct. And he's got,
and that's what happens. A lot of times we think that if a player isn't starting right off the bat, then they're a bust, and we don't realize that that's not true at all. Plenty of great players needed a year to develop.
That's right. And that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon at all.
Right.
And I see that the Niners win, and I think, excuse me, I think that the 4 best teams left I think the 4 teams left are the best teams in the NFL. So I'm looking forward to next weekend. I think it's gonna be a hell of a game. Hopefully Patrick Mahomes is healthy, and we can see him at full strength and let these guys go at it. So
yeah. I think it's the Final Four. There's no argument. Those teams all earned it. They all belong there. There's no, so it's gonna be very entertaining. So we just did the number 8 safety. We are up
Yes.
to number 7.
Number 7, another free safety prospect, Brandon Joseph out of Notre Dame.
I've picked him in the mock already.
Yeah, 6'1", 195 pounds. He is, like I said, your prototype ball hawking free safety. He's got really good ball skills. He's got excellent range, and he's a very smart player. He only played 1 year at Notre Dame because he was a graduate transfer. He started playing at Northwestern where he killed it. And if he came out last year in the draft, he probably would have been a second-round pick. He's one of those guys, and it happens all the time where going back to school is really going to affect him in a negative manner to his draft selection prospect. But he's scheme versatile. He can play man. He can fit in his zone. He did it all. Notre Dame is another team that runs a very, very high-end, complex defensive system, very NFL-like. So, he's done it all. He's always been kind of that captain of the defense, the play caller, the guy's getting everyone aligned. He's a very, very high-end football IQ. Like I said, there's been it's hard to ignore the huge dip in production from Brandon Joseph in 2020 to where he is now. So in 2020, he had 12 pass breakups, 6 interceptions at Northwestern. The guy was a stud in the making. This season, 2022, 2 years now removed, he had 17 solo tackles. He had 15 assists, so 32 total tackles, 2 pass breakups, and 1 interception. So the production, that throws a red flag up for me. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Right.
His run support leaves a lot to be desired. It's not the greatest. He's not the biggest and strongest, and because of that, he struggles playing in tight quarters. Like he doesn't shed through, he can't shed through blocks or bigger guys or linemen that, get on him. So he's never going to be one that's asked to be in the box. But even in, those situations where he's up in big nickel situations where he's up on a slot receiver or on a quarterback, if he's running through the middle, on crossing routes and stuff like that, he gets himself, he can't navigate through as easily. He's not super, super physical. Again, he's a willing tackler. I don't want to talk about his that in a negative fashion, but he's just not the most biggest and physical guy. Like I said, 2 years in a row of declining stats. There's something that just didn't jive with me. Otherwise, he'd probably be higher on this list, to be honest with you. Like his ball skills are awesome. He is a free safety, center field. Let him be out there, single man high or even split safeties, covering half the field deep. That's where he does his best work. So my NFL comp for him is Malik Hooker, very, very similar prospect coming out of Ohio State. And now, the free safety with Dallas, he's bounced around a little bit. I think he was with Indianapolis and now he's with Dallas. So I think somebody's going to take him early, day 2, maybe late 3rd round, early 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, day 2, late day 2, early day 3.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's where it's going to fall. He could come in and step in and play a free safety role, but I think he's going to probably, I don't think that would be ideal. I think a year of grooming and kind of developing him and figuring out what went wrong from 2020, 2021 until now would be best. But he's got the skills to get up there and line up and do it. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily plug and play, but there's going to be teams that, where some of these guys are going to get thrown into the fire, and I think as a free safety, he could survive. He's got NFL caliber ball skills. Just the rest of the game is needs a little bit more fine tuning.
So another guy that will most likely end up, maybe see some action, but most likely end up developing at least a year on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there were better prospects last year that didn't see the field all that much this year. So I think he's probably in that mold. But like I said, in a pinch with an injury, if you had to throw him out there, that's fine. He could survive. I just don't think, you can't really expect a lot of him out of run support and stuff like that. and maybe that's just going to be his whole NFL career. I'm not sure, but in regards to someone who has range and can play that deep middle and deep half and split sets, I mean, he's great.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. That is Brandon Joseph.
Free safety out of Notre Dame.
That is our number 7 ranked safety. And we
Yes.
move on now to number 6. Who is our number 6 safety?
Number 6 out of Alabama, Jordan Battle.
Number 6? Wow.
Number
okay.
6.
I thought he'd be higher, but okay.
Yeah. So he's good. Don't get me wrong. Like,
right.
There's just, like I said, these are my takes on when the film that I watch and so on and so forth. Jordan Battle. If you told me that he was going to be a Jet, I'd be all for it. Like he's good. He's again another very high IQ player. He started over 50 games in college. He's a seasoned vet, seasoned leader. He's very, very smooth. That's what I love about him. Like he looks like liquid on the field, from a smooth back pedal to getting forward to moving laterally. He can flip his hips and run very easily, gets the top speed quick. He's going to be another guy who runs fast, probably low to mid 440s. So he's got that recovery speed and range. And he plays he plays every bit of 6 foot, 200 pounds. He plays with some vigor and some tenacity, which is nice to see. He's got that uncanny ability. You saw it all the time. And again, he played on Alabama defense, which is probably going to have 5, maybe 6 guys from that defense drafted at some point in 2000, in April.
Sure.
So, but he's got that uncanny ability to kind of, think a step ahead and blow plays up in the backfield, blow up those screens, so on and so forth. He's a very, very good all around player. The question is about him. Like I said, sometimes he can get overly aggressive, too aggressive. And, if you get too aggressive and you shoot past, you leave open lots of cutback lanes. So he, takes bad angle. If you take the wrong angle and you're over aggressive with it, you just open up the field, So
Right.
I think that's something that could really, if I had to knock him, that's something that you see a lot too much from him. He doesn't match up very well with those quick and shifty wide receivers. So asking him to cover anything but tight ends, that are in the slot might be a big ask. Even though he's smooth and he's got the speed and athleticism, it's just not his play style. He just doesn't do good, with quickness, short area quickness in the slot. And he's another guy whose play from last year to this year digressed. 2021, 63 tackles altogether, 4 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, and a QBR of 35 when targeted. 2022, he had 34 solo tackles and 37 assists. So that's 51 total tackles, 1 pass breakup, 1 interception, and a QBR rating of 109. So
wow.
They targeted him. Now, it also could be because they had Eli Ricks on the corner, who's a great cornerback prospect, and they also had Brian Branch there, playing and covering people in the slot, or wherever he was on the field. So you might just choose the lesser of the evil. So he got a lot of looks last year. So I know that number is high, but you have to take the whole context of what was going on with that Alabama defense into consideration. So I think my thing is Jordan Battle. I'm still up in the air if I think he would be better in the box. If he's better as a free safety, I think he's versatile enough to do both of them. I would probably say he's a free safety at the next level. I know a lot of the pros and the real analysts differ and think he's better, coming downhill and blowing that stuff, playing more so as a box safety. But I think he's more than capable of doing either. And I got a day 2 pick on him. I think he's going to be a 3rd rounder. I think he can come in and play meaningful snaps at free safety, especially in a very zone heavy scheme, AKA the Jets, AKA San Francisco, AKA Seattle. Like those are the teams that I think Jordan Battle can come in and really make noise for, or even strong safety in the right, in the right spot. Like I think he's that versatile.
Wow. So
Yeah.
we could expect that now we're at a point where we're starting to see players who, if drafted, could actually play this year and make it and play a role on their team.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year.
And my comp for him, and it's one that we're all going to be familiar with. Think Marcus May.
Wow.
Think Marcus May. He's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit bigger in size than Marcus May, but think of that versatility. Marcus May could come up and play. The year that was like Gase's first year, before Marcus got hurt. I think he played the year we got rid of Jamal. He came in, he
Right.
filled in, and
Yeah.
he was that strong safety. He was that box safety. The year before, he played center field, and he was good at both.
Right.
That's exactly what I think Jordan, like, his game is very similar to what Marcus May's game is.
So he might really be a good fit for Miami, for the Jets. Specifically, those two teams both need it. They both need a guy.
Yeah. I think
I-
Marcus May had a little bit better man coverage skills than Jordan Battle. I said if there's something that I really have to ding the player on, I think that's what it is. So I think more of a zone scheme where he can sit back and in a split, two deep split safety and cover half the, be responsible for half this field. Definitely offer excellent run support. I think that's a role that I think Jordan Battle would be wonderful at.
Well, the Giants need a safety too, so I mean, there are a bunch of teams that might be looking at him.
Oh, there's tons of teams that
Yeah.
could come in. Like I said, he's going to be off the board by the end of round 3 for sure.
Right. Well, that was number 6, so now it's getting exciting because now we're up to players who could play and fill spots right now today.
Yeah.
Possible. So who's number 5?
Number 5, one of my favorites of the whole draft class. Jair Brown from Penn State. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. This guy is ridiculous, a ridiculous athlete. He's going to run, he ran 4.4 already, unofficially timed at 4.4 flat. So he's fast. He's going to have a sub 4.0 shuttle, which is shows his short area quickness, agility, top end level. He can plant and break on the ball with the best DBs in the country. He's quick enough to man up on receivers if asked to in the slot. However, he's not a free safety. He's a strong safety. I'm going to change that on the Grandizer. I think that his best, he does all that stuff very good, but his best attributes happen inside the box and what he does with the run game. He's high energy. He's kind of a nonstop motor. He had 55 solo tackles and 19 assists, so just under 75 total tackles, 1 pass breakup, 4 interceptions, 15 pressures, and 3 sacks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he could do it all.
He could, yeah. Like I said, his best work is done in the run game. He's a downhill thumper. He's built like a bowling ball. And he's got enough strength to really make his mark at the point of contact. I think his best role is him in the box, blitzing, so on and so forth. Again, he can also play that overhang, where big nickel, where it's kind of like a linebacker, kind of like an extra safety, kind of similar to what Philly Will did for us last year at times. So I think he can do that as well, but I think his calling card is going to be strong safety in the NFL. But he's athletic and he's versatile. He's more explosive than he's more explosive than coming downhill than he is, turning and running with guys. Like, man coverage is not his forte. He can do it, but it's not his strongest suit. He gives a lot of cushion when he's in man, which to me always tells me that the defender is concerned about getting beat deep, and probably because he doesn't have that, that turn skills and run with, you know what I mean? So, he's not the greatest, he's not the rangiest safety in the world. Again, he's very short and stocky, if you will. So he doesn't have that ideal arm length and build, which you expect from a natural, true sitting center fielder out or a free safety sitting out in center field, I should say. So yeah, he short arms always does bad for blocking, stacking and shedding blockers. He's not that big at 5'11", so the bigger linemen that can get up and get their hands on him, he has trouble getting through. So that's why he falls to number 5. But I think he's definitely a day 2 pick. I think he's definitely a 3rd round pick. He could sneak up into the end of the 2nd round, but more than likely a 3rd round pick. He's an enforcer. He's a tone setter. He can do a lot of things. He's versatile. He can blitz off the edge. Like I said, I talked to you already about what he does against the run game, which is really what his strong point is. So he's a great player. And I compliment Budda Baker, Arizona's strong safety. Similar builds, similar, kind of tenacity. Budda Baker's a little bit better, playing in coverage, but no, Jair Brown can do it. It's just something that he's going to need to develop. So I think he can come in and he can step in and he can play meaningful snaps for somebody who wants a defensive tone setter in the box for sure.
So if you're absolutely fed up with Whitehead, or if they end up paying a quarterback a lot of money and they have no choice and they got to free up money, and
listen,
casualties, you can get this guy, and he's a guy who can come in for Whitehead and play instead of Whitehead, right?
As our roster's constituted right now, I don't see a fit on the Jets, but in the situations like you explained, I think his play would be, very similar to the role that Whitehead plays for us.
Right. So we have to be really careful when we're doing our mock drafts. He's not a guy that's going to come in and fix our hole that LaMarcus Joyner is going to leave.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wait and see if Whitehead stays. Probably not the guy, because we're probably going to be wait later round, more of a development guy.
Hey, but in the 3rd round, if you took him in the 3rd round and you said, okay, this is my pipeline guy, this is the guy that's going to sit and learn and be, play in certain, in a role in certain sets, and then he's going to come in and be ready to play year 2 when we say goodbye to Whitehead, I'd be fine with that. Think of Ruckert, right? Ruckert was a 3rd round pick. The Jets had no intentions of Ruckert really making an impact year 1. His impact was going to be when the 2 guys they signed as free agents left, and he's there. He's coming in. So if we're talking just for the Jets, I think that role would be kind of similar. That mentality would be kind of similar for Jair Brown.
I'm almost thinking that the Jets assumes, and are assuming for next year, not that they want it to happen, that they're probably thinking for year 2 that one of the 2 tight ends will get hurt, and Jeremy Ruckert, like for a few games, and Jeremy Ruckert will be that guy that can come in. But if neither of them get hurt, it's going to be, again, another year where it's hard for Ruckert to see the field.
Yeah, listen, they're going to do some different things. I mean, you got to remember, it's not it. There's a good chance that it's not the Mike LaFleur offense.
Right.
So maybe he comes in and maybe he plays more of an H-back role and sees the field a lot like Trevon Wesco did for us.
Yeah.
You never know. But like I said, from last year, I wanted to kind of correlate us using a 3rd round pick on a guy that we had no intention of playing this year. Even though he was probably capable of it. For the Jets, he had no intention. So if the Jets were in the market in the 3rd round and they took Jair Brown, I would think that that's the same mindset that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at with number 5, Jair Brown. Good ball player. Yeah.
So
number 4. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying now we're getting into the range of these are plug and play players that we're expecting probably to go in the 2nd round, I would imagine. Well, we'll see. We'll see at number 4.
Yeah, number 4 again, one of my favorites. Just the guy just really has great film. Christopher Smith from Georgia. 5'11", 195 pound. He's a free safety, but again, he's more of a kind of like a Swiss Army knife, if you will. He can align anywhere on the field. Really, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Played on that Georgia defense. He played next to Lewis Seen, who was my crush my safety crush from the last year's draft class. And he played next to Lewis Seen, and Lewis Seen was a free safety, and Chris Smith kind of played a little bit of strong. He played a little bit of rover, played a little bit of kind of big nickel cornerback, did a little bit of everything. But the guy just, wherever you put him, he's always making plays. That's what I really, really like about Chris Smith. Like he's he's got enough range to play deep center field. He's got great ball skills in the air. Always goes to high, always attacking the high point. And he covers a lot of ground in the run game. He takes good angles. Something that I think is very important when you're kind of scouting or looking how a guy who might be a free safety playing split safety, deep half or deep middle and single high. That's, I think, an important part of what you're looking at is how are they helping out? How are they offering the run support? Are they taking the right angles? Are they, beat all the time? Think of when we had Ashton Davis back there 2 years ago, right? Ashton Davis was back there. He was supposed to be that guy, but he just, his run support was just lackluster. He always took bad angles. Seems like he was always shorter, always just missing people running by him all the time. That's not Chris Smith, Another thing, like he was the Georgia, we know Georgia's back-to-back national champs. We know that the pedigree that the players on that Georgia team, and he was, praised by all his coaches and all his peers, as being a super leader. He's the quarterback of the defense. He's got amazingly high elevated football IQ. The guy, supposedly has phenomenal, super high character. Again, I don't know him personally, but I go by what I hear and what I see and what I read. So everyone has nothing but good things to talk about Chris Smith. So that that's definitely a plus. Now, again, 5'11", 195 pounds, not the biggest guy. He's a little bit slim framed too. So I don't know if he's got the frame to really pack on a ton of weight, but he definitely has to get a little bit more functionally stronger. He gets washed out a lot of the times by bigger blockers when they can get their hands on him. You know what I mean? So if he's coming up for run support and a guard gets into the second level and gets his hands on him, probably all bets are off. And the one thing about Chris Smith, the one thing that I think needs to improve and one thing I think can improve, although he's not afraid to hit, he definitely needs to become a better tackler. He had a 17.5% missed tackle rate last year. So, but again, that's something that I think can definitely be coached into and improve, but all the raw skill set is there for him to come in and be a player. I comped him to Jalen Petrie, who went in the second round last year to Houston, had 120 tackles and 7 pass breakups in Houston this year, played a little bit of strong safety, played some free safeties all over the place, but always making plays. That's exactly what Chris Smith is. It's a little bit,
We're talking about the ceiling of a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I don't know if Petrie made the Pro Bowl, but
no, but I'm saying one day, these are future guys.
This is a guy who kind of has that work ethic and attitude that he absolutely could become that. It wouldn't shock me if 4 years down the road that you talk about him as one of the best safeties in the league.
And possibly again, if the Jets were to take him, a guy we'd expect to start and be playing, in the opening lineup, right?
Yeah. Listen, he's not going to be the biggest, he's not going to be the strongest, but he's also not going to get outworked by anybody on the field.
Right. So when do you think he'll be picked? Like if the Jets wanted him as a sample, or if Miami wanted him, when Giants, when would they have to take this guy?
I think the third round is probably most likely early in the third, late second, early third. He's a top 100. He's a top 75, top 100 player.
So you get him with your third round pick at let's say
if we get him with our third round pick, I'd be elated.
Wow. There's a chance he'll be there. There's a chance he'll be there.
Yeah, there's absolutely a chance he'll be here. Like he doesn't have the physical. He doesn't check off all the boxes, physically that some teams probably won't even pay him no mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a chance to be there. If we got him in the third round or in the fourth round, I'd be more than happy. I think highly of him as a player and a prospect.
Well, fourth round would be insane because that means we'll have gotten another two third rounders based on if you're right, because he'll have been worthy of a third round pick. Maybe, if he makes a Pro Bowl one day, he'll have been worthy of a second round pick or even a first round pick. So.
Yes.
So that sounds fun. That sounds good. That's number 4. Now we're going into the top 3.
Top three. A lot of names you guys already know. My third guy right now, and again, I hold the reserve to change after the Senior Bowl from now until April because there's gonna a lot that's probably gonna change, and haven't seen these guys test out and who gets hurt. Hey, Nolte, what's up, man? My number 3 player, my number 3 safety is Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M.
I see that name all the time.
Antonio Johnson is he's ridiculous, excellent size and length for the position. He's another guy who's lined up in a myriad of different positions. He can play the box safety. He's played slot corner. He's played, in one high sets as the free safety and split safety roles, playing half the field. He's played linebacker and nickel and dime sets. 6'3", 195 pounds. Super, super physical. Plays with high, like high end instincts. He can flow. He can run very well. He's a pit bull of a tackler. He's always active. He's always playing through the whistle. He's one of those guys who always where you find the ball and where the guy ends up tackling, he's always around that spot. Through hell or high water, he gets there. And he's got like that elite click and close burst. You know what I'm talking about? When, he might be backpedaling, play action, or, draw, and he goes. And, he's got that elite burst coming downhill, acceleration coming downhill. You don't expect it from a guy that big, but man, he can run like a gazelle like that. Some of the things, like I said, he hasn't shown, the best ball skills or that elite range that you really want from a true center fielder. So I don't think he necessarily sticks as a free safety in the NFL. I think it's, he's probably going to end up being a, kind of a big nickel or maybe even a slot cornerback in the NFL. He's a guy another guy who I think could easily pack some weight on and become a linebacker. He doesn't flip and he doesn't like kind of open his hips and run like a true safety does, but he's so good elsewhere. He's a guy that you just get on the field, right? He's better in man coverage than he is in zone. He tends to have like a drifting eye. So he might run, he might watch, kind of keep his eyes and watch the quarterback a little bit too long and not pass guys off in the zone or stay with the guys in the zone too much. That opens up, holes in his area. So, but you ask him to lock down on a wide receiver in the slot or anybody in the slot, and he's going to lock him down. He's one of the guys. He's one of the safeties. Like I said, when you talk about utility guys, he's a true utility guy. Because he can, like I said, he might find his role in the NFL might be a true slot cornerback. He's that, he's that good at what he does. He's a guy that you're going to put on the field. You're going to find a role for him one way or another. Again, he's another guy who missed too many tackles, 22% last year. 22%. He loves, he is like I said, he's a very fast and very aggressive, and got that elite closing thing, elite click and close speed. And he loves to just put his shoulder down and lay guys out. And too many guys bounce off him, man. He needs to wrap better, But again, that's something that I think can be coached into or developed. You get a guy like this, and you find a way to put him on the field. I don't know where his fit for the Jets is. If we're talking about the Jets, I don't know where his fit is as our roster is constituted right now. But he's a guy who's going to make plays, and you want defensive players on your field that can make plays, and that's him. I think he's a day 2 pick. I think he's the top 50 pick, so he's going to go early in the second round. He could, you're going to see a lot of mock drafts if you read and you follow out there that have this guy slide into the end of the first round. Wouldn't surprise me. I just don't know what his true NFL positional calling card is going to be.
So that would be a difficult for us because
as constituted right now, yes.
Right now, the way it looks is we'd have to use, if we were in love with him, we'd have to use a second round pick.
Yeah. So I comp him very similar to Isaiah Simmons from the Cardinals. So Isaiah Simmons was drafted. He played safety in college. He was drafted by the Cardinals to play linebacker, and they realized that his best role is back in playing that kind of like that overhang safety, that big nickel safety, third safety, linebacker in dime sets and nickel sets, so on and so forth. So a little bit of flexible. Isaiah Simmons also does, lines up and mans up guys in the slot as well. So very, very similar, very, very similar frames. I think Isaiah Simmons is a little bit bigger in regards to his overall mass, but they're both about 6'3". Simmons has packed a little bit more mass on him. So, but their play styles are very similar.
So this guy would be all over the field for us.
All over the field.
Or anybody you played for. I'm like, I feel like the Giants, people talk about Pinnock. I don't think, I think Pinnock is playing okay for them, but I don't think that the Giants are sitting there thinking this is who we want to be our free safety. I think he's just a good role player. Like, a guy gets hurt, Pinnock could play, give you some decent minutes, but I think we'd have to watch out for the Giants, right? They might want to make this pick. They might love this kid.
But you got to also remember about the Giant situation with Pinnock seeing the field as much as he did this year was because their two starting safeties didn't stay healthy. They were on and off the field between Love and McKinney. So,
and if those guys come back, they're not in such.
They're back, and they took most of the reps at safety.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to think of the different teams. I'm talking about Miami, the Giants, the Jets. There's a lot of teams out there that, obviously I don't know all the teams' needs, but I'm sure there's lots of teams out there that need a free safety or be very happy with a free safety like this.
And even more so, I think there's a lot of teams that see the value that he can bring as a true, excuse me, I got the hiccups, as a slot cornerback.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. So he can play that role too.
Yeah. So we got a couple more hybrid guys to talk about, number 2 and number 1. Number 2, again, another guy that you watch the film, and I'm gonna send you some tape that I cut up on him, Jeremy, so you can watch it yourself and see what I'm talking about. JL Skinner from Boise State.
Oh, he's a picture on the thumbnail for this video.
Yeah, 6'4", 220 pounds. He had 36 solos, 26 assists last year, so just over 50, 60 tackles, right around there. 4 interceptions, 2 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, 10 quarterback pressures. The guy has elite measurables. He's going to be the guy when you think you're in a lab and you want to kind of make an NFL player, an NFL safety, like, this guy's the guy that checks off all the boxes. Elite size, elite athleticism, ideal measurables. He's got a 77-inch wingspan. The guy's just long as could be. But unlike a lot of the other big body safeties, it doesn't hinder his agility. The guy is like a gazelle. He's got quick short end. He's got ridiculous, short area quickness. And he's got good long speed as well. Obviously, he's a big guy. He's very physical. He's an explosive hitter. He does amazing things playing downhill. He'll put his face in there and mix it up with anybody. He can body up. He's got the build to kind of body up with the tight ends in space, and he's got enough speed to open and run with them up the seams. He's a good processor. He's got a good thinker, and he diagnoses stuff and plays and route schemes, ahead of time, as they're happening. He jumps routes all the time. Like I said, 4 interceptions for this guy. The problem is that I think he's very scheme specific, right? He's going to be somebody who's asked to play he's destined to be in a team that runs high zone coverage, the Jets. Or a cover 3 scheme. I think he could do very well. I don't know if he'll survive as a true, center fielder playing free safety, single high. I don't know. Again, with his body and with his game, with his tenacity and his downhill style of playing, he's a guy who can easily be asked to put on a couple more pounds and convert into a linebacker. He's tall, 6'4", 6'4.5", and he's got a big frame. So I don't think that he plays a little bit high. He doesn't sink in his back pedal, so it also when he's not, his change of direction hurts because of it. He doesn't have that true fluidity. His back pedal needs work. Not like unlike the guys that we talked about before, in Jair Brown and Chris Smith, who are very, very fluid. Jordan Battle, another guy, great back pedal, can get out of it very quickly. He doesn't have that. That's what his game lacks. He too much separation. He allows too much separation with guys in man coverage. He gets aggressive. Like I said, he can process the plays and what's going on very easily, but he gets too aggressive at times. So he's been burnt a bunch of times. Double moves seem to be a big thing to beat him. I think personally he can play off man better, but it's not where he excels. I think he's a zone guy, which is fine. He's a top 50 pick. There's no doubt in my mind he's a top 50 pick. He's not going to have a hard time finding a home in the NFL. He's not going to have a hard time seeing the field early, because guys like this, like I said, you just put out there and you let him figure it out. I comped him at Jeremy Chin, the safety for Carolina. Again, another guy who they didn't know if he was going to be a safety or linebacker coming out of college. He was a small school kid, but he's got the same build and same makeup and kind of plays with the same vigor. And he's been a true find for Carolina. I think, listen, if he's a Jet, I would love it. I think if he's a Jet, you can assume that he's probably either going to take over or step in at some point in the Jordan Whitehead role and kind of play, in the box, or they make him into a linebacker, which is something that, Robert Saleh has a tendency to do.
But it doesn't seem to resolve our issue with LaMarcus Joyner.
No, he's not. Listen, I don't think that he's a true free safety in the NFL. I think he's kind of more of one of those true hybrid. He can do it in a pinch. He could do it in certain sets, but he just doesn't have the hip fluidity, to kind of open up and run. Although he's fast, he lacks that kind of agility. He's just a big guy. He's probably meant in the front seven.
And when do you think he's going to get taken?
He's a top 50 pick. He's early second round. He's off the board.
Okay. And I see that a lot. So again, the Jets to get to the Jets in the second round, for example, he'd have to slip.
No, the Jets pick what, 40 something?
43, I think. 43.
Yeah. Well, listen, I say he's top 50 he's a top 50 pick in my opinion,
So he might be there, he might not be there.
Yeah, listen, he'll be there. I think I shouldn't say he for sure, but I think there's a good chance that he'd be there.
Okay.
For the Jets in the second round.
Right. It's going to be a tough decision, because while safety is a position of need, you have to ask yourself, I think the Jets' priority is, like, they have to figure out free safety LaMarcus Joyner, so they might say this isn't the right guy. We're better off waiting and grab a guy that's just a natural free safety to replace Joyner.
But when you watch his film, and like I said, I'll send you the stuff that I have cut up for him.
Okay. Yeah.
You're gonna fall in love, and you're gonna say, okay, I don't give a shit who it is. Get this guy and get him on the field.
Right. And JD is a value guy.
Yeah.
He's not going to get too in love with need and position. If he sees an opportunity to bring another special player onto the roster, he's going to do it.
Absolutely. Speaking of special players, number one, to no one's surprise, if you follow me on Twitter, if you listen to me, on Jeremy's show, on Green Bean's show, I can't stop speaking. I can't talk high enough about the best safety in this class, and probably the best safety that I've ever really, really studied, Brian Branch. 58 solo tackles last year, 32 assists, 2 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. You saw what he did at the highest level of pressure in the bowl game, where he just stood out, and he was making plays all over the field. Like I said, he's arguably the best safety prospect to come out since, I don't even know, in a long, long time. He's a fluid athlete. He can diagnose plays, reacts very quickly. He's extremely versatile. He can play single high free safety. He can play in the box. He can play nickel cornerback. Again, this is another guy that I think if somebody drafted him and said you're going to be our nickel cornerback, our slot cornerback, it wouldn't shock me whatsoever. He can play outside cornerback. He could play on the outside on the boundary. Just every aspect of his game is good. He tackles well. He can blitz. He can shut down and glue. He blows Hamilton out of the water, John Nolte. But I wasn't a Hamilton guy. Wow. I thought Hamilton's game left a lot to be desired. You'll hear when I comp him, and I'll talk about when I comp him. Again, great instincts, great football IQ. He does all the little things that you want. He does all the little things that elite NFL players do, right? He can sit down in zones. He can, break on balls. He reads and react good. Again, finding negatives, because I didn't want to just have all praise on the list, but they're really hard. One of the negatives that I put for Brian Branch is that he's another player that doesn't have a defined position. So I don't know how he's going to fit into every scheme. Some teams will earmark him as a slot cornerback because of his size and his man skills being out, through the roof. Some teams are going to say you're going to be a slot cornerback. Some teams will want to have him pack on 5 or 10, 15 pounds and be a box safety and be that terror in the box and around the edge, blitzing and all that stuff. Some teams will think that he's versatile to do a little bit of everything. And that's what I think. I think he can play free high. I think he can play single high. I think he can come down and be an enforcer in the box. I think you can put him in on anybody in the slot, big slots like tight ends or flex tight ends or those shifty guys, and you're not going to have to worry about him. I think he's that versatile. I think he's going to be he's obviously a day one pick. I put here in my draft guide that I have him going between picks 10 to 20, but it wouldn't shock me if come April that he's inside the top 10. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Right.
They're starting the grumblings now are starting to be more than likely he will be gone by pick 10, and pick 10 happens right now be Philly, which I think he would be perfect for, Jeez, I think you could imagine. I think you could. He is the guy that like I said, when he's on the field, he's going to be a difference maker. And my NFL comp for him is Derwin James, of the Chargers. And Derwin James is probably, arguably, in my opinion, the best safety in the league, hands down. And I think this guy's play style and capabilities, when the pressure is on, his nose is always there. Like he's in probably the best safety prospect that I've ever personally watched and graded. Now, wow. What that means to any of you guys, not that much, but to me it means something because I've watched tons and tons of film, probably hundreds of safeties over the years, and this guy's probably his what he does on the football field stands out more than I can even describe to you here in this video. So I would love him on the Jets. Yes. If we took Brian Branch and said we're going to figure out the offensive line in the middle, the other rounds, I'd be 100% down with it. And I don't care where you put him. You can put him in, you can put him all over the field. He's a guy like that. You just want him out there. Like I said, I think I label him as a free safety. I think some teams are going to see him more as a slot cornerback. I think some teams are going to want him in the box, because he's got a lot of the same skill sets in and around the box that Jamal Adams has. He's Jamal Adams. Like I think I tweeted that out once, that he's got, he's basically Jamal Adams with the ball skills of Tyrann Mathieu and the speed of Antoine Winfield Jr. He's the perfect combination.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, this guy. It's exciting because I like him because he's a ball hawk, and I think we really need to. As much as I loved our defense this year, I'm not complaining. I liked it in the first half when we were getting turnovers. I think it's such a big part of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get a guy like that, and here's a guy that will force that and make that happen, he will get us the football. And we need guys like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that wins games. It makes the difference in games. Whether you're trying to make a big stop like against Detroit, and you have a guy who creates a fumble in a moment like that, in a drive like that, or whether it's just an interception that in the beginning in the first half that gives you in the first quarter that gives you momentum. And it's so important if we want to get to that next level, I think,
Sure.
to have a big ball hawking type guy, a guy that can just get you the ball.
He's more than just ball hawking in regards to like range and ball skills. I mean, this guy is he moves the needle. When he's a true he's a presence on the field. And he's not the biggest guy, but he's like you're going to know when he's on the field. Very similar to, like I said, Derwin James. Derwin James fell when he got drafted to pick 17 overall, right? Could it surprise me if he falls to right around there? No, I wouldn't be surprised because you see how people kind of really don't spend top 10, top 15 picks unless you're Mike McCagnon on safeties, especially guys you might think it's a box safety, Jamal Adams, but I digress. He, you put him in Philadelphia, and it's fucking over. Like he fits that defense so well. He fits. He'll fit any defense well. But like, for instance, like I said, I there's a lot of grumblings that I've heard. I got my ear to the street that he probably, if Philly stays at 10, he probably won't slip past Philly. The other team that supposedly is in love with Brian Branch is New England. I don't want him in New England. I don't want him anywhere near the NFC East. AFC East, excuse me.
And we got to play we have to play the Eagles next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be no fun. They're hard enough as it is, but then to have to throwing Brian Branch onto that defense, my God, that's not going to be fun.
Yeah. So I think that this, in all, I think it's a good safety class. Listen, I think last year's probably, apples to apples was a little better, a little bit more high end talent. I think we saw three safeties go off in the first round last year.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of good players. There's a lot of names that are going to, they might need a year. They might need some time in the weight room. They might need to improve one aspect or another. But I think that there's going to be a lot of good things that come out of this draft class. Chiefs Live, you just missed it, man. I just did a whole breakdown on JL Skinner. I watched him and I watched him well.
He's our number 2 guy. He's my
number 2 ranked safety on the board. You're gonna have to rewind this video when it's over and watch what I said about JL Skinner.
And congratulations on the Chiefs victory today.
Yeah.
That was yesterday. So that was big. Hopefully Patrick Mahomes will be okay to play next week. I would hate for that game to be compromised. That's always the worst. I mean, at this point, as a football fan, you want to see, in a game like that, you want to see the best players on the field. You don't want to see any injuries on either side.
Yeah.
So I hope Mahomes can play and we have a great showdown between the Chiefs and the Bengals.
Yeah, man.
It'd be great. But you can keep up. Grandizer is posting. If you watch, you could see the rankings. He's keeping track of it for us. You could see all the guys that were rated. You could see you could see who the top 5 were. Brian Branch, and there's your guy, JL Skinner.
Even though you have him listed as a free safety, I don't really know if he's a free safety, but
it's hard. It's hard. At that level. When you get to that level, I guess it's getting harder and harder. But to say, where are they really going to play?
Yeah.
But
it's funny, like my top 3 on the board. They're really, when you talk about hybrid or utility players, that's really what they are. They could be free safeties. They could play strong safety. They could play slot or nickel cornerback. Brian Branch has a similar skill set to Daxton Hill, but much, much better. Put it this way. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's not many people. I think it's closer to Derwin James than it is to Dax Hill. That's no disrespect to Hill. I loved Dax Hill last year. I had him as a top 20 player. But I think Brian Branch is just special. Of all the players that I've watched this year, of all the players that I've watched so far, and I've watched, Jeremy knows, hundreds of college football games and hundreds of more hours of game film and tape of these guys. Brian Branch sticks out, probably the most. I came away the most impressed with what I saw from him.
If we don't take an offensive tackle, boy, do I hope it's because we took Brian Branch. He's the only guy that in my head that steers me away from offensive tackle. Like we need an offensive tackle, but if you were to say to me the Jets didn't take an offensive tackle, who do you think they took, and are you happy? I'd say, well, it better be Brian Branch.
Yeah,
I mean, because then I can't be mad because I'm just imagining our defense the way it was and how fun it was last season to have a really good defense. And then imagining Brian Branch just joining that squad.
Yeah.
That's
Listen,
just
I would love it. I honestly, right now, here we are in April. April. Here we are in January. I just don't see it happening. I don't. Especially if we bring in a free agent quarterback, where our cap is going to get even tighter, after moves are made and releases, so on and so forth. I think that there's a better possibility that we start the season. I'll say this: as much as I love Brian Branch and as much as I would love him, I think there's a better chance of us starting the season with Whitehead and Adams as our starters and drafting another guy later, to come in and develop and maybe push Adams for playing time. So, yeah, well, Chiefs Live, funny you talk about Trenton Simpson, because we're going to talk about the linebackers next week.
Yeah. So we're going to do you want to do a mock draft where we'll make a rule that we have to use picks 1, 2, or 3 in the first 3 rounds? We must pick a safety.
Yeah, however you want to do it, that's fine.
Okay.
While you get it set up, I'm gonna hit the head real quick.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to set it up. The only rule is within the top 3 rounds, we have to use a safety, which is going to give us a challenging decision maybe in the second round, because if we might have to, if we, decide if we don't take somebody, we have to pick someone in the third, and we might be losing out on value. So we just went over these 10 safeties. Now we're going to look and say that we have to draft one within the first 3 rounds, and we're going to see how that looks. We'll draft as if we are the Jets. And see how this all goes. So let me share screen. We're going to present. We'll share screen. And I'm going to share. And I'm going to try to zoom in so you could see. Okay, there we go. I got the Jets selected. No, John Nolte, your official mock draft 1. I've already done 2. This is not official, but the next mock draft video I will have will be episode 3 or mock 3, because we've done number 1 and number 2. You old fart. You got to check the video library on my channel, because we're already up to 3. So
and Nolte, I didn't forget you. I'm going to send you a courtesy guide, a courtesy copy of the guide if you want one, because I promised you one.
You're going to give the old fella a free copy?
Absolutely, man. Nolte, I'll say this. No disrespect to anybody else in the chat, but man, Nolte has always, been a true supporter of me and the little work that I do here in random on random channels, so on and so forth. He's always been a huge supporter, so I got to show him some love, man.
Oh, that's good. Salty Nolte. He says, absolutely, Dom C.
Yes.
The old fart. Somebody told him how to use a computer. Okay, so all right, we got some trades right off the bat. We got a trade offer.
I don't trade, Jeremy. I'm setting rule number 2. I don't trade in the AFC East, no matter what.
I know. So we're going to tell New England to kick cans.
Yep.
It's not even that good of a trade offer, to be honest. And this one's ridiculous because, it's not ridiculous. This is a crazy haul. But the problem is it just pushes us back too far, don't you think?
Yeah. No, listen. this is if you looked at it value wise, the value is what the Jets would be getting. That's the higher value here. And realistically, I've been saying this since day one. It wouldn't surprise me if the Jets trade out of the first round, depending on what we do at quarterback, because you're going to have to save money somehow. And what better way to save money than not pay a rookie,
Right.
Or a first round, a mid round rookie, I should say. That's $4 million right there you could save going from 13 to 44, like Detroit wants us to do.
Okay, so here we are. Let's look at who got picked. They took, I'm just looking for offensive tackle. Paris Johnson's gone. He went number 1. And then, that's funny. And nobody else got picked. So all the offensive tackles are there. Obviously, Brian Branch is there. Right now, they still have him down at 18, which I think is ridiculous. And the only other temptation at all that kind of calls out is Brian Breesy, who's obviously an excellent defensive tackle.
Yes.
So there's Brian Breesy, and then when we scroll down a little bit, there's Brian Branch. And then, of course, Peter Skoronsky is there. And then I believe Broderick Jones is still there. Antonio Johnson is ranked 25, so he was your number 3.
Yep.
You differ a little bit than them because
click on the safeties. You can see. Click on how they rank. I mean, again, this mock draft ratings. This particular one is, I think, a little crazy, but you can see how they have them rated and how I have them rated, and it probably differs a lot.
Well, they only mixed up those two, and then Battle they have a little too high.
Well, they have it. They have it higher. I'm not going to say that. Battle is bad. He's not. It just it really depends on
Christopher Smith deserves to be higher than a lot.
I think so.
Guys, right?
I think so. Yes, I think.
And then they got Trey Dean too high. You didn't even mention him for anything. So
yeah, Trey Dean's on my list, but he's in the mid to late teens.
And it looks like Ronnie Hickman is the best value in the bunch in this range when you get into the 100s. So
Torrance as well, or Jamie Robinson's a good player again.
Right, we talked about him.
Yeah. So do you want to do this one, Jeremy? You want to do this mock taking Branch, and let's see what else we can, how we can build the team if we took Branch first? Or do you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say that the rule is that we have to take a safety in the front 3, but I'm okay like this, like just varying it up a little bit. Like for this draft, we're going to say that maybe by this time, Joe Douglas is very confident in what he sees in Becton, and he feels that Becton's going to be there.
Yeah.
And Dwayne Brown's coming back, and he feels that Max is going to be there, and maybe he's going to take a tackle, but maybe he's thinking, I don't have to have a plug and play definitively, and we're going to make our defense, even though our offense is the one that needs help. Let's say Joe Douglas decides, I want this defense to just be lights out. Let's move into number 1 and be like it was when I was at Baltimore and just be the dominant defense of the NFL.
Listen, there's going to probably be between your show, the Monday Night Mock with Green Bean, and everyone else on YouTube that's going to do mock drafts, 95% of them from now until April are going to have the Jets taking a tackle. I think the Jets are going to take a tackle.
Right, me too.
This is not predictive. This is not what we think is going to happen. This is we just talked about all these safeties. Let's take one and see how the rest of our roster builds up. Maybe after this mock, we say, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's a bad idea because the tackle, all the tackles go, or, we miss out on A, B, or C, so on and so forth.
Right. And normally I would take Peter Skoronsky right here if he was there.
Yeah.
We don't even know if he's going to be there. I don't care what they're ranking him. It's very debatable. Talking with Jets with Tigo has no confidence that Peter will be there. He thinks he's gone top 10.
Listen, there's a possibility that the top 3 tackles are all off the board by the time we pick at 13.
Right.
As an absolute possibility that.
And then it makes total sense to either trade down or take Brian Branch.
Yeah. Or whoever they have ranked, whoever else they have ranked, maybe they take receiver. Maybe they take, I think 13 is too high for the linebacker class personally. Maybe they take receiver. Maybe you go, I don't know. I think that point
somebody has to slip. If all 3 tackles go and Brian Branch go, that means other guys had to have slipped. Somebody will be there. So, and it could be like a wide receiver.
It could be Breesy.
it could be Breesy at defensive tackle. We'll have options. We'll be able to get a difference-making player.
Yeah.
Of some
Yes,
sort.
guys, we absolutely know. I'm just touching what the chat's saying. I agree with you guys wholeheartedly that I don't think Joe Douglas really values the safety position all that much to spend a number 13 on one. But again, we're just going with something different here, guys. Let's see how the team can be made with if we don't take
everybody calm their liver. We're just doing a draft where we're taking the safety first to see what it looks like. It's just make believe. So everybody,
Jeremy's gonna have 600 mock drafts done between now and April, and on 550 of them, he's gonna take the tackle. So don't worry.
Right, it's just make believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think there's a good offer, but it depends on what's on the board here. So
yeah, we're gonna check the board, but this is an offer that I usually jump at because you go back a couple of spots, we may get the same guy we wanted, and look how you upgrade that pick. I mean, 114. There's some guys
fourth
there.
rounder.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys there. So this other one is again only go back 3, but this is more about next year.
Yeah.
So if
I would
we do
reject
anything,
this.
yeah, we're gonna reject this one, and then we're gonna go. We'll look back to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Now, man, I like Zay Flowers. I'm just saying.
Me too. Me too, Jeremy. I really, really like Zay Flowers. And he's a guy that I think absolutely probably won't be on the board at this point.
What if, just out of
Michael
curiosity,
Mayer. Oof.
What do you think? You don't think Noah Sewell's a fit for our team, do you?
I think he's a very, very good player. I do. I think he's more of a fit in a traditional as an inside linebacker and a 3-4 fit. You know, think of, teams like Pittsburgh and Miami or any 3-4 base defense. I think he's more of an inside linebacker for a 3-4 fit. So I don't personally think that he's a real true fit for our defense. I'll give you a little preview to next week. Sewell's number 5 on my board. He's my fifth ranked linebacker.
So you don't think he's a bad player at all?
No.
Right. Okay,
no, not at all.
Drew Sanders, I'm betting you like better.
Drew Sanders, I love Drew Sanders. I was very close to ranking Drew Sanders number 1 on my board.
Wow, isn't he the fast one?
He's got a little bit of everything.
He's lanky. Look, he's long.
Yeah. He came into the he was one of the highly touted prospects when he came in out of high school. He was a linebacker, middle linebacker, off-ball linebacker in high school. Went to Alabama and they made him into an edge rusher. Now, and then he left Alabama because he was a part-time edge rusher, so on and so forth. He said, "I want to get back to my roots," and he went back to Arkansas and they played him off-ball. As a Sam, a strong side linebacker, similar to where we play Quincy, and he just killed it this year. Just killed it.
You see, I think Green Bay is trading up because they want this tight end, Michael Mayer.
Yeah, and listen, truth be told, if Mayer's really on the board, you got to consider him. But this is like we said, play and make believe. We're okay at tight end. I'm okay. I'm okay accepting that trade if you are, Jeremy.
Right. Yeah, I think we have to take it. I think we do have to go offense, I think, because we took Branch. So at the way our offense finished the season, it would be you can't justify not taking an offensive player.
Before you hit accept, though.
Yeah.
Before you hit accept, can you just pull up the tackles? What does the tackle depth look like?
I'll show you. There was one guy I recognized the name right off the bat who's right up there, and that's Darnell, right? And you also have DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, Cody Mach. Blake Freeland. I think there's still some serviceable guys there.
Matt Bergeron.
Matthew Bergeron. He's on my top 10. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my top 10 are still on the board. So for me, this is a no-brainer.
Right. Someone will be there later.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if we passed it in the second round, I think somebody will be there.
Right. That's what I mean. I think we can go third round on it. So let's drop back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's accept this trade. And they did take Michael Mayer. I was right. And then
Steve Avila.
They took a guard, Seattle. So I don't mind that. I don't feel cheated there.
So
for
those of you who are high or very involved in the Jets content creator community, you're going to know that name, Steve Avila, very well because he is one of Jets Forever's favorite guys. And he's a great prospect. I'm not knocking him, but I tend to not like him so much because Jets Forever always talks about him.
Right, and Jeff Schreier is kind of proving to be an idiot, so it's hard to go with
I'm not going to say
anything.
that. But
It's so now this is what we have left. Let's go to all.
Mhm.
So we're not just looking at the tackles. You got Noah Sewell still up there, which is interesting. Keishon Butte. We're going to go over wide receivers one day. Drew Sanders is still there. I know you love him.
I
and
love
he's there.
Drew Sanders.
It's just hard to imagine us going
Back to back. I hear you. I hear you.
going defense. I think we have to go offense, and the best offensive player on the board, I think, for us is clearly John Michael Schmitz.
I would beg to differ. If this board was exactly what we're looking at this pick, I run to the podium for Wright, for Darnell Wright.
Let me see that. Hold on. The tackle.
I think they have him at 50. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying because we didn't take a tackle in the first rounds, we'd be better off jumping for a tackle here instead of the center.
I think he's the better prospect. I think he's a better prospect than Schmitz. And I love Schmitz. There's no disrespect, but I think what you'll get in value from Darnell Wright, you can the dip from not taking Wright to taking your next tackle is a lot bigger than passing on Schmitz and taking your next center.
Right, because there are other good centers.
Yeah.
Okay,
and this is ridiculous. Lucas Van Ness is a top 20 player. He's a top 20 player, and they have him here at 50.
Would JD be tempted to take him here if he was there? Would he say, "Screw it, I don't care if we need offense"? I can't.
Listen, if we have no Carl Lawson next year, I don't think Edge is out of the question early.
Right. In this case, we're going to go and we're going to take Darnell Wright because we all agree we have to have a tackle. Must have. Let's get our guy. Okay, so we get him. Remember, we're going to have a better pick later because we made that trade.
Yep.
So we have like another higher pick. This is a ridiculous trade to me, honestly.
Yeah, the value's not there, I don't think.
Yeah, to trade down. And then this one,
it's the same thing. Again,
it's just not enough value to trade down here. It just kills us. We need a pick here.
Yep.
So I think again we're looking for tackle. Now remember, just to see that we could have went third round and still gotten, as far as this board is concerned, we still could have gotten a couple of good guys around here.
Sure. Absolutely.
I do see. Let's see who we see. Look at Zaire Brown, but we already went safety, so we're not really going to go that way.
I don't think Marvin Mims is worth a pick here. I know they have him valued high. He's probably
look at Lucas Van Ness.
I know he's still there. It's ridiculous. So is Gervon Dexter, which is also crazy to me. Now, I'm not super high on Gervon Dexter, but I think he's going to be a round 2 pick based on his upside. He has as much talent. He has as much talent as any defensive tackle in this draft, and there's some good ones. He has as much. He's got a super high ceiling, but he just has not been able to put it together. Play in and play out. He takes plays off, so on and so forth. But athletically, he's as gifted as anybody. I mean, it would be a terror to line him up next to Q in pass situations.
Okay, and we have no reason to reach for a center because we did make a trade before. That's going to put us in a good position later. So if you look, we have 110 and 114.
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to address center there in that spot. I think pretty nice. I think fairly well.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to reach here at all. I don't think the value for any of the centers that are on the board quantify us taking one here.
It would be very hard if this was real. It would be very hard not to take this guy.
He's really good. He doesn't have the natural pass rush skills yet. I think that's going to develop. But I mean, you talk about like a true edge setter. He's good, and he can also play some reps. He's big enough. He's sturdy enough. I know they have him here at 269. I think his play weight is going to probably be more about 285, 280, 290 in the pros. And he'll have enough flexibility to bounce inside in certain situations. Very similar, but not as good of a pass rusher as JFM.
Yeah. A lot of people might say we have JJ, so do we need another edge setter? But you put him on the other side, right? And then like for running plays, first down, second down.
Yeah.
Anytime a team is running on us, you're playing the Eagles, you're playing, those kind of running teams, and you have JJ and this guy lined up on both edges. That's not going to hurt your team, especially
Yeah.
with Quinn in the middle. This is like, it's not a bad situation. Stopping the run is important. People, I think, look at edge and they only think one statistic, and that's sacks. And I think that's a problem, like, of most fans. I think that they need to, like, educate football fans on one thing. It would be there's more to playing edge than just sacks.
Yeah. And
Especially with us.
very in the complete opposite of Lucas Van Ness is right under him, Andre Carter, who is a pass rush specialist. Think Hassan Reddick. A guy that just gets there and gets after the passer. That's Andre Carter.
Let me ask you about. Oh, okay. Let me ask you about Marvin Mims.
Yeah.
Is he his brother? Is he Denzel's brother?
No, he's not.
Okay.
He's not. Hey, listen, he's another guy, man, who
He's a speedster. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's okay. He doesn't do anything phenomenally well, if you ask me. He's a shot. He's a shot guy. He lacks like overall like the he's got like a build similar to Elijah Moore, but I think Elijah Moore is a much more talented receiver than Marvin Mims. The guys I like here at this level, I like Jack Campbell, although I actually comped, again, we're going to talk about linebackers next week, but Jack Campbell, I have my pro comp with CJ Mosley.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really good.
But isn't that the wrong position for us?
Well,
then? Like, what could we do with Jack Campbell? Because we already have Sherwood. Like, can he play week or Mike?
I think he's a Mike. I think he's a Mike in college, but he's very good. I mean, I think he had like 125, 130 tackles last year, 140. There we go.
So the question is, could he replace a Quan Alexander or a Quincy Williams?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's probably more of. He's probably more of a true middle linebacker. Probably even a better fit in as an inside backer on a 3-4 scheme. But again, it's hard to talk about the production. I mean, it's hard to talk down about the production. I mean, the guy he's a football player, man. Now, the way the board lines up here, Jeremy, I think the guys that I think you got to think about Dexter at defensive tackle, which is a position of need. I think you got to talk about another linebacker, whether it's Campbell or a true will or strong side linebacker, or a true off ball linebacker.
I think we got a couple of picks where we could address linebacker and center.
Yeah,
I think right now we got to go for value with Dexter.
Yeah, listen,
right. I mean, if it's at 74, it's a position of need. He's a guy that might be a plug and play starter and an impact one.
Yeah, the problem with Dexter, and again, I keep talking bad about him, but the problem is that this guy could be an absolute whiff. He's got that range where he could be very, very good, or he just might not all put it together, and he's going to be one of those guys in 2-3 years you just off of. But he's upside. He's pure upside. The talent is there. I don't know if the whole package is there mentally, physically. Like I don't know.
I think at 74, that's when you take a shot at a guy.
Absolutely,
like
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and the defensive tackles. If you click on defensive tackles, my guess is at this point it's not very deep. It's probably going to drop way right off the board. Like after this, like I like Smith from Michigan. He's a big body. He's a run stuffer. He's like your quintessential opposite of Quinn Williams. But like I said, it really depends what you want. If you want to shoot for the upside, and think that you can coach Dexter into fixing the mental aspect of that, and all that stuff about him, Dexter's the pick. If you want secure, you know, a true guy that you're not going to have to worry about that complements Quincy Williams better, I think you think about somebody like Mozzie Smith.
Okay, so we're gonna go for the value because he slept.
Okay.
We're gonna take him and take a shot. I think it's a good place to take a shot, especially when you have a couple of picks coming up to address the other positions, which we do have. So now we get up to, let's review to people what we already took. We're at 110 now. We've taken a safety, a defensive tackle, and an offensive tackle. We still need a center, and we could definitely use a linebacker. So center and linebacker, I think, are the glaring needs right now.
Yeah, I think wide receiver can be in play as well.
Right, if the right guy is there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go. And edge, I mean, technically. So we look and we see, what do we see here? We see, wow, a lot of
a bunch of tight ends.
Bunch of tight ends.
Jacqueline Roy is another guy that I really, really like. He's high on my board for defensive tackles. I think the guy's really good. There's Ronnie Hickman. I think now that I see him here, I think you take Andrew Voorhees and you don't question. I know we haven't talked interior lineman, but he is my I don't know if I have him. He's either 1 or 2 on my board for interior lineman. I think I have him.
Can he play center?
He is very similar to AVT. He can do it. He can do it all. I don't know. I'd be lying if I'd be making it up. I don't know if he has experience playing center, but he can play tackle. He can play either guard spot, either tackle spot, and he'll do it at a very, very high level. He's like I said, Osiris Torrance is my top rated interior lineman. Voorhees is real close to him. But like I said, if you take Voorhees, I don't know if you really can bank on him playing center. You might want to take a guy like Oluwatimi, or you might want to wait and take a Ricky Stromberg later in the draft, so on and so forth. Those guys are true centers.
Okay. So it sounds like we should take advantage, and I'm gonna go for it. You know what? Because we're gonna need someone to replace Lincoln Tomlinson after next year.
You can't wait to get rid of Lincoln Tomlinson, man.
I cannot wait to get rid of him. And then this guy will give us some security if there's an injury this year. And we pick at 114 right away anyway. I do think we need to address center eventually. We're not
Oluwatimi's the pick.
And it is right there. So now you get center, and we really address the offensive line. And I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
No problem addressing the whoa, what is going on here? That was what is going on here? I don't know what I did.
Did you have another window open maybe?
No. We may have just lost the draft. This happens sometimes.
Oh no.
We may have lost it. I don't know if there's any way to save it. If I go backwards, it's gonna jeez.
All right.
We lost it. All right.
Well, see if you can recreate it.
This is the problem with whatchamacallit.
PFN.
With PFN. Yeah, this happens to people all the time. It's very irritating. Oh, I gotta redo it too because I don't know if I took the Jets. Okay, let me hurry up and see if I could do this. Otherwise, we could just wrap up because people got the idea. Let me just do this. Very irritating, very annoying thing about some of these apps that aren't very good. I have to get comfortable with other ones because I'm getting tired of this one doing that to me. Let's see if we can recreate it. Who did we take? We took Branch, right?
Yep.
So we could replicate that. With the second pick, we're not going to be able to replicate the second pick, I don't think.
Is he
Who
gone?
did we get with the second pick?
Darnell Wright.
Oh, let me see if we can. Oh, we could.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get the trade this time. So
no, we're not. That's okay.
Whatever. Sorry, guys.
It happens, right?
It happens, and I have to go. So, just curious if who's still here, but man, we're never going to be able to replicate that exact draft. It's a bummer.
Well, then the mock is worth. But in that situation, we were able to secure ourselves Brian Branch, a safety. We were able to secure ourselves a very good starting tackle in Darnell, or tackle prospect in Darnell Wright. We're able to secure ourselves a defensive tackle in Gervin Dexter. We're able to get our center in Oluwatimi, and that's when it crapped out. After that, you're probably taking best available at that point anyway. You're going to find a linebacker. You're going to find a receiver, probably.
I'm kind of thinking I would have been happy with that draft. I liked the way it was going.
I really like that.
That was a total offensive line rebuild, a total defensive line.
Oh, yeah, because we got Voorhees also. I forgot about that.
I mean, you're talking about center, guard, tackle. You're talking about, future a guard who can come in right away if anything happens this year, injury-wise, but a guy who's definitely the future, playing opposite of AVT. Mm-hmm. You got your tackles. Hopefully Becton comes back, and you got him playing with Darnell. And then you had we had
in that scenario, as our draft played out, Darnell Wright can play left or right. He can play left tackle or right tackle. I think he's got the chops to line up either. So, if Becton comes back healthy, you can have Darnell Wright and Max Mitchell, fight it out for the right tackle spot. Or if you want to move Becton over to right tackle, you have Darnell there at the left side. Voorhees is just really, really good depth. He's your pipeline piece. He's your injury protection. He can come in and he can play either guard spot. He can play tackle in a pinch as well. And then you get the defensive tackle and the center. I mean, you're in pretty good shape with that, the way that draft manned out. So you don't have to, based on PFN's rankings, you don't necessarily have to take tackle in the first round. Although I think if we stay at 13, that's probably the area that we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. Hey guys, we're going to be back next week, and we're going to do linebackers.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that. Of course, we'll be back Wednesday with the Wacky Wednesday show. Dom C will be on Green Bean Jets Fan tomorrow, doing Green Bean's second official mock draft, his Monday night show draft. And you'll be there, Dom C, guiding and helping him. And of course, do you have any new articles coming out on the website?
No, I'm holding off until after I get back from the Senior Bowl. There'll be lots of new material coming out post Senior Bowl. We'll be doing a lot of, both Green Bean and I will be down there, so we'll be doing a lot of stuff, updating, keeping you guys up to date on what we're seeing on the prospects. Some interviews and intel that we get from the players down there. Just looking for a great week. It's going to be really, really exciting. So you guys expect to see a lot more content from me post Senior Bowl as we ramp up towards the draft, man, and free agency.
All right. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks again, Dom. Thanks to everybody in the chat. As always, I'll see you back on Wednesday, maybe sooner, to do a mock draft. We'll see. But everybody have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Don't not be Thibodeau. And here it comes. It's about to come in. Oh my God. They didn't. They took Sauce Gardner. Oh my God, they don't want an edge. Maybe he likes Jermaine Johnson at 10. Then we're not going to get a wide receiver?
Garrett Wilson, wide receiver. Oh my God, no edge. The Jets traded up. Are we taking JJ? Are we taking JJ? Because I know Braden is in New Zealand saying, we should get Young, Mike. He's definitely saying that. JJ! We got Johnson! We got Johnson at 26! We got Johnson at 26! This is great! Yes! They took Roger McCreary, they didn't take Dean, and we traded up. We can get Jacoby Dean. It really is. They took Breece Hall. Wow. I mean, look, I love Breece Hall. But there's also Jeremy Ruckert, who I think is the best tight end in the class personally. They took Jeremy Ruckert. Yes!